You've seen today's class clown on The Last Leg, Mock the Week, and her recent viral appearance on Celebrity Mastermind. In today's episode, we hear her incredible journey growing up in New York and surviving a horrendous car accident before moving to the UK and becoming one of the fastest rising stars on the comedy circuit. I'm talking about the hilarious Janine Harouni. If you like this episode, you can check her out on her new tour, This Is What You Waited For, which runs until May. It is, of course, the hilarious Janine Harouni. So we were just talking about, before we pressed record, your name, Janine. It's Janine. Everyone says Janine Harouni, but actually it's Janine Harouni.
Well, a lot of people over here have been saying Janine Harouni because it looks like that, the way it's spelled. And I never correct anyone because that is technically right, because my whole family have pronounced it Harouni, and then I went to Lebanon to visit my cousins over there, and they all say Harouni. And so I think we've just Americanized the pronunciations. Okay, and also, I don't want to split hairs when I meet someone. I say whatever you want, as long as you're paying me. I don't really care.
Yeah. So let's just go, I think, to the beginning, and see how we got to the person that I'm sat opposite.
Yes.
Which is what I assume born America.
Yes. Yeah, I was born. Came in the usual way.
Yes.
Vaginally, yes.
Okay, nice. Old school.
Yeah, no drugs or anything. She just pushed 13 hours, yeah.
Wow. Very natural.
Very natural.
Okay,
yeah.
So that's interesting. So tell me, because I won't know much about America and how that kind of defined the person you are today.
Well, America's a very big place. It's kind of like saying, oh, you're European, so you must have the same sort of... there's so many different parts of America that you can't say that there's a distinctly American vibe. I guess there's a few things, sort of endless positivity, I would say, is very American. But I grew up in New York, and in a really working class, blue collar part of New York called Staten Island. Yeah. So that is associated with, we were talking earlier about roasts.
Roast battles. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure most people know what this is, but just in case they don't, this is the kind of new phenomenon that's finally got to the UK of comedians making jokes about one another.
Saying really mean things about each other.
Extremely mean things.
But you were saying, oh, I wouldn't want to do it. I would be afraid of what people...
Well, I've said no to Adam Rowe.
Yeah.
Because I'm too
But
insecure.
I just don't care. And also, where I grew up, that's just a sign that you love and know someone. Like, I remember being a kid, and I'd walk into a pizzeria with my dad. My dad used to go to this pizzeria all the time. It was around the corner from our house, and he was morbidly obese at the time, so it did make sense. And we'd go in, and the guy would be like, you're back again? You want to try to gain more weight? And then my dad would be like, yeah, I'm here because all the good pizzerias are closed. And they were like best friends with each
wonderful.
other. But they're calling each other fat, and they're bad at making pizza.
Yes.
And that's just the sort of vibe that I grew up in. So roasts feel affectionate to me, actually.
Right, nice. And is that a Staten Island thing, do you think?
I would say...
like, you've talked about America being a big place and how you can't just be defined by being American, and I understand that. Well, then how does Staten Island define you?
Well, New York, I think when people think of New York, they think of Manhattan, but those
Statue of
aren't...
Liberty.
Do you think of the Statue of Liberty?
Central Perk.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But Manhattan isn't...
I think of the Ghostbusters fire station.
Oh, I do too, yeah. And my husband does. We had to go and see it when we visited New York a couple of years ago. But, Manhattan, those aren't real New Yorkers. Those are people who've moved to New York from all over the world. Yeah. So there's no real vibe there. Whereas we're called the bridge and tunnel. When you live in the outer boroughs, people, in a mean way, New Yorkers will call you, oh, that's the bridge and tunnel crowd is in tonight. And it means people who've had to take a bridge or a tunnel to get into the city.
So it's kind of used pejoratively.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I just think those are the real New Yorkers because they're people who were born there and grew up there and will probably die there as well. Yeah. So my parents were born in Brooklyn, in a really working class part of Brooklyn. And then there was this great migration from Brooklyn to Staten Island so you could have a little bit of a back garden. Like that was the sort of biggest goal.
Okay, so like kind of moving from here to move to Zone 6 in London.
I think Staten Island is the most like Essex, if I was to compare it. Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's kind of like spray tans, big hair, long nails.
Gotcha.
You are part of a major city, but you don't really have the kind of same cultural touchstones.
And that's blue collar. that means that's working class. That's
blue collar.
It
means you do a city job, which is over here. A city job means you kind of work for a bank or something, doesn't it? But in New York,
that was white collar.
No, in New York, a city job means you're a cop or a fireman. You work for the city. So it's a totally different meaning. Yeah, because we don't really use the term working class in America.
Of course you don't.
As much.
No, I know that. Yeah.
And also the class system doesn't have the same meaning there as it does here. People are so dictated by their class.
Absolutely.
Here, which I find so interesting.
Yes, but if you were to label yourself that in New York, what would you have been, just for me to kind of get a kind of gauge on what your upbringing might have looked like?
I think I grew up, I would say I was, and this also has a different meaning. Middle class doesn't have the same meaning in America as it does here.
It doesn't mean elderflower.
No, it means you're not poor, but you're broke. That's how I grew up. I was probably lower middle class.
Yeah, lower.
So,
I was going to say that kind of sounds like lower middle.
You know, we owned a home, but we had no disposable income.
Yeah, okay.
Our house was constantly under construction by my father, who had no experience fixing anything. I remember he once tried to hang something on the wall, and he needed to find the stud. And so what he did is he just knocked holes in the wall until he found the stud, hung the thing, and then there were just holes in our house for about 20 years.
Okay, right. I like this guy. Again, I just want to get back to like I suppose the traits that you might identify with being from Staten Island. Do you think there's something that is distinctive about being from there?
Yeah. You're mad all the time. Your first emotion is anger, no matter if you're like sad or feeling vulnerable or hurt, or even if you're happy. There's like a toughness, a sort of...
Do you know what? Do you know why that would be? I mean, I suppose that's more of a historical question. But do you have any sense of why, I think if you were to relate it to London, say, and the stereotype being that everyone's cold and everyone's rude and we don't communicate, but you could probably then relate that to being the fact that it's heavily populated. It's rush hour, you're on a tube, there's 1,000 people squashed into a tin. You're not going to be going, how has your weekend been? And people are in a rush. You kind of get why London is what London is when you live here. Mm-hmm. Do you think there's a reason for that kind of anger that you identify with being from Staten Island?
I do, and I find this stuff fascinating. I think it's because New York, I think any major port city that had a big influx of immigration has a very similar attitude. So New York does, Boston does, Chicago does, very kind of tough love almost. And I think it's because our grandparents or great-grandparents came in. They came from nothing. They had nothing, and they had to make their way in a very unaccommodating city. I mean, New York is very harsh. You're having feet and feet of snow in the winter, and then it's boiling hot in the summer. It's very harsh conditions, just weather-wise. And I think there's a real toughness, a real, like, help yourself kind of attitude within this idea of community. So in LA, for example, I think people would be so nice to your face. I think if you were in trouble, they would be like, oh my God, that's awful. I'm so sorry. Like, I hope you figure that out. But they would never actually extend a helping hand.
Right.
And I kind of think that's a bit true of maybe like middle class London. Whereas in New York...
I was thinking that and didn't want to say.
Yeah, whereas
I observed that.
Whereas in New York, if you're in trouble... people will call you an idiot to your face. They'll be like, what the fuck are you doing? You don't know how to fix a tire. You don't know how to do that. And then they'd be like, all right, come on, sit down. I'll do it for you. You got to learn this, They'd make you feel good because they're helping you, but also they'd insult you while they were doing it.
Yes. And so do you think that anger that you're talking about and where that comes from, is that within you, or have you for some reason kind of rebelled against that?
Oh, it's in there. My husband's we're constantly in couples therapy where he's like, he's a sweet man from Dublin, the
I've met
Irish
him, he's very sweet, yes.
He's just, I just didn't like the tone of, and you very nearly said something, and I'm like, if you spent a week with my mother, you would understand. This is coming from a place of love, and the amount of dialing down I am doing is... I've definitely learned tact from living in the UK, which is so essential, I think, for working in this industry. But New Yorkers they'll be mean to you until you've proven yourself to be a loyal person or whatever it is that they value as a friend, and then you're there for life.
Right.
You know, you're in for life.
So did you need to use that kind of fiery aspect of yourself? Do you have to kind of use that to survive? Even does that develop later on in life, or can we actually track this back to school? Is it...
Oh, I think no one gets bullied worse in the world than you do in Staten Island, New York. I think we have all been through collective trauma.
Okay.
I once had a guy. We were like building a set.
How old are we?
14, 15.
Okay.
I'm building a set, you know, for the drama club. We're doing a play together.
Okay, so
and
you're
I think
already acting.
I think I said something to him that was a bit whatever, snarky or something, and then he just went, "I can smell your period from here." In front of everyone. And then I was like, oh, I am on my period.
Wow. That's going to stay with you.
Oh, forever.
Yes.
Like,
I hope you've sorted that out, by the way.
I mean, it's kind of my trademark scent now. No, but that level of open meanness. Did you have that in school? Would you say that to a girl?
No, I didn't. No, I did not. I didn't. No, I didn't think of that. No, I didn't. I've not said that.
And I don't think I was particularly smelly.
No.
Maybe I was.
No. Don't do that to yourself. Let's move on.
That's not. Is that going to make the cut?
That can make the cut. It's up to you. Don't worry.
But I mean, people would just. I don't know. Like, and I went to an all-girls school as well. It was cutting. I mean, people would just.
How did you
tear you apart?
Just pause there. How did you end up? I kind of want to know, I suppose, is because that's extremely interesting to me. You went to an all-girls school, and what does that do to you? And again, it's about that kind of, for me, how did that define you? You know, the Janine I'm talking to today, she goes to all-girls school, and so what did that make of her compared to if she didn't?
So I think I'm a comedian because I went to this school.
Right. Well, there you go.
If there was a comedian origin story, it was what happened to me in that high school.
So let's go right back to how do you end up in an all-girls school?
So I went to the public school in America, which is the free school, where you're just assigned based on where you live. So also has a different meaning.
Yes.
It's
the state school
the
here.
State school,
yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
And then when it came time to high school, to go to high school, my parents are very religious, very Catholic, and they wanted us to all go to Catholic school because they were worried we were going to get into drugs or whatever if we stayed. Because the public schools in New York, they're very big. It's very easy to kind of get lost in the shuffle. And so they wanted us to go to these smaller schools. They couldn't afford to send us there. So I had to get a scholarship, which I did. And then to supplement that, I had to stay behind class and clean the classrooms every day and also work in a convent as a receptionist, work in the convent at the school because nuns lived at the school.
So what age are you?
14 when I went to high school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a lot of, that sounds like a lot of kind of work and dedication for a 14-year-old.
I mean, I think it gave me a real sense of appreciation and gratitude because the girls who went to my school, a lot of them had a lot of money because their parents were in the mafia. Wow. I know this sounds insane, but to me, this was just where I grew up, was that the rich people, their parents were either doctors or lawyers or they were connected in some way, you know? So there was a lot of like money at this school that I went to because it was the sort of probably the best academic all-girl school on Staten Island. And a lot of these girls really wanted to get into either Ivy League or the tier below.
Right.
But I went to this school and I already didn't fit in because I was...
I've heard an all-girls school. My sense of that is that's kind of the hardest place that anyone can go.
Especially at that age when girls have... I mean, children in general just have no sense of empathy.
Yes.
But imagine that plus... God, have you spoken to a teenage girl recently?
No.
They can tear, and don't, by the way, don't. But they will tear you apart psychologically.
Okay. Yeah, no, I'm lucky. I have a 2-year-old and she's doing her best to tear me apart psychologically. So.
Oh, it's coming, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So I suppose I don't really have a sense of who you were before you go to that school. So maybe before we get there, it would just be a good idea to get a sense of who you were before you arrive at that school? Because we both, as we all know, school can have such a dramatic impact on who you go on to be in your life. So who are you before you get to that school?
When I was a little kid.
Yeah.
Very precocious, bit of a Hermione Granger, I would say.
I can see that, I think.
Yeah, bit bossy,
Yeah. Why is that?
I don't know. I just had a lot of...
Is mum like that? Dad like that?
No, my mom's not like that at all. I think I grew up in a real male house, and
brothers,
2 older brothers, and my dad is like coached all the sports, and my mom is a tomboy. And my parents, by the time I was born, I think they were just like, they had 3 kids under 4. And by the time I was old enough to know what was going on, they were just like, just get out of the house. Like they were like, just, so it was a lot of.
I've got 2. And I just, even though I have to imagine that, I'm like, yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
I can very easily imagine that.
But also, can you imagine sending your kid at 5 to just go on their bike, no cell phone, just be like, come home for dinner? Like, I can't imagine that.
No, not anymore. That's how it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I do. That was...
Their way of protecting me was
my life.
They would say, take your sister with you. And so I would hang out with my brothers and the Boy Scouts, and it would be me. They're kind of like kid sister.
Okay.
Who no one wanted to be there.
Yeah.
And I think I was like, well, this is kill or be killed. I better become their leader.
Okay, right. Yeah, I got it.
So I think I became a little assertive from probably that. And I think that's where I started to see the value in being funny.
Wow.
Because I think...
Yeah, that makes sense.
I don't know if you feel this way, but I think comedy tends to be a bit more of a male language. I think men kind of speak it more easily to each other. So when I was hanging out with my brothers growing up and all their friends, they were constantly cracking jokes at each other, making fun of each other. And like I said, it was a sign of affection. And I think I sort of learned that. And then when I went to this all-girls school... a lot of the girls kind of bonded over talking about their feelings and boys and things. And I think I didn't fit in because I was like, who's going to call me fat? It was just kind of like...
Right. Yeah, that's a really interesting point about the language of comedy and kind of the roles that genders play in that. Or gender plays in that. I suppose... You want to be careful to generalize, or stereotype rather, but I think that joking is an effective way. It doesn't always have to be the case, but it is an effective way of avoiding truth and reality. And men, I don't think men actually like truth or reality and end up just joking so that they don't have to face themselves.
Or it's a way of feeling control over the sort of sad circumstance that you're in.
That's interesting.
I think, if you grow up and your parents are alcoholics, at least my experience of it is the men that I know who had that when they were boys would joke about it all the time in a kind of way of saying it doesn't control me if I can laugh at it.
Yeah. That's very interesting. Yeah.
I don't mean to say that it's a male language because women don't have the capacity for it or whatever it is. I don't
think I've got the vibe. But by the way, I don't think that's how that would be taken. But yes,
I think it's more of a societal pressure that men are not supposed to talk about their feelings, especially not with each other, and that they're just supposed to kind of get on with it and be the rock and be all that. And I think that pressure... You need some release for the sad things that are happening in your life or your insecurities, whatever it is. And I think men tend to, because of the pressurized situation they're in, joke about it.
Yes.
Whereas women, I think and now I have loads of very, very funny female friends who I also very much talk about my feelings and therapy and my relationship issues and whatever else.
Yeah.
But I think we are expected to be softer and more in touch with our emotions, more nurturing of each other and ourselves and things like that.
Yeah.
And so I don't think there's the same pressure release with comedy as comes with men.
Okay.
But also everyone is different. That's just my experience.
Yeah. And so you think that being around boys at that time, that kind of helped shape this, it helped, at least it kind of pushed forward a little bit, this having to joke to survive.
Well, I think what it is it suppressed my vulnerability because if I was hanging out with all these older boys, I couldn't be they didn't want me there. And it was very clear. I couldn't be like, come on, guys, I want to, who wants to be that person?
Yeah. Let's talk about our feelings.
Yeah, so I thought
When you're 11.
Right, or let me play, whatever it was.
Okay.
So I thought, okay, well, if I can just pick off the weakest one of the group, you know what I mean? If they're all making fun of him and I come up with an even better joke, then I'll be accepted into this. Whatever
and
pack.
That almost, it's strange, isn't it? Because that's almost like what it's like to be on a bill. A comedy bill when you're on the circuit and you're coming through before you talk. You're on a mixed bill, and you've got to try and be. You've got to attempt to be the funniest to stand out on that bill. It's a very competitive environment in its own kind of, it's almost unspoken way.
And in the UK, because I've gigged now on bills in America, I don't know, have you done?
I have done, yes.
Not
much, but I have done, and I have friends over there. And
maybe it's, I started here and had a couple of years under my belt. Then I went to New York and thought maybe I'll get on some whatever lower level clubs. I had to start again as an open mic comic.
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
And it is the most kill or be killed, unwelcoming place I've ever been. And I think if I started in New York, I wouldn't be a stand-up today. People in the UK are much more supportive, and there is that sense of you've got to get out there and do your best stuff and all that, but people will still help you kind of get gigs, whereas in New York people would just completely blank you. I once went to it was my first time performing in this club in New York, and this guy came out. He was like, yeah, I'll be the host and whatever, you're on at this time and blah blah blah. And I said, okay, and do I wait here in the bar or is there a green room? And he went, oh, and will I roll out a red carpet for you, Your Majesty?
Yeah, I can imagine that.
It was just
I
was just asking. Yeah. I've never been here. I don't know the layout of the venue.
Yeah. Well, apparently we're quite spoilt over here with the way
it's so much nicer.
The way it's set up for us. So yes. Okay, so I'm getting this quite a good sense of who you were as a child before you go to an all-girls school. I suppose now's a good time to ask, again, before we get there, if Aristotle, and I ask everyone this, but if Aristotle says, give me a child until the age of 7 and I will show you the foundations of the man. The question being, if we show Aristotle Janine at 7, does he know exactly where this is going?
I think he'd know that I was going to have a lot of laser hair removal, because by 7 I had a full beard, which I think aided in the comedy, because I was like, I got to address this, just one eyebrow, a goatee. I went home not too long ago, and my father was like, he's very emotional. He's retired now, and he's like, I've saved everything you've ever done in these binders. And it was all these binders. It's so sweet.
That's lovely.
And I found all these old reports we had to do, and one of them, I must have been maybe 5th grade, so maybe 10. I had written on it, here's everything you never wanted to know about me but asked me to write in this report. Oh, wow. I think I was kind of always...
There's a kind of, there's a comedic kind of cynicism.
I've always been a cynic, yeah. Even as a kid, yeah.
Yeah. That kind of, it's almost quite neurotic to state at that age...
The self-awareness.
That you don't want to know about it. Yeah,
Yeah, I think so.
So... Was there an ambition at around 7? We don't, it doesn't have to be on the dot, but around that point of life, were there ambitions to be some sort of performer? Were you watching films and going, I want to do that, as opposed to just consuming it?
I when I was 5, my mom took me to see Annie on Broadway. I think this is every little girl's.
Oh, this is cool.
And. We were in the nosebleed seats all the way at the back because my mom got free tickets from her school she was a school nurse. And the ushers let us walk down the steps and sit on the steps as close as we could to the edge of the balcony. And I watched it I don't know, like a judgmental 50-year-old. And I just turned to my mom and went, I could do that. And she was like,
Great.
I don't think that you can. I'm like, no, you should put me in some classes. I think I could do that. She was
okay.
like, okay. And then I signed up for this weekend children's theater that I ended up doing till I was 18.
Oh, wow.
And every
Oh,
Saturday
yeah,
and
so
Sunday we'd rehearse and we put a play on once a year. And I loved it. And my mom thought I was going to quit and said, you know, because we didn't have any money, she said, you can use your birthday money from your grandmother to pay for this. I mean, it wasn't expensive. And she said, and if you stay in for the full year, then I'll reimburse you the money. But it was her way of kind of teaching me, you can't just try something and hate it and quit. You have to commit to it, you know?
It's so funny tracing these things back to the fact that you're already stood in front of people at that age. Even though it's so long ago, do you think that there is anything from those days that actually has helped you today?
Well, I will say I played a boy in almost every single play.
All right.
I played a boy and I used to tie my hair up. I think, you know
Hanging
what?
around with your brothers?
Well, say it again?
Hanging around with your brothers.
I think
Sorry,
I just, listen, I went in for my scan when I was pregnant and the doctor was like, it's a boy. And when we left, I said to my husband, oh, that's good. I think I know how to raise a boy. I wouldn't know what to do with a daughter. And he went, well, you're very male presenting.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't know. I've always had like I don't know. Who knows? I've always had a sort of a male energy or something, or felt comfortable in a sort of male energy.
Well, feeling comfortable in a male energy would make sense given what you've said, going out with your brothers and your mum being a tomboy. That all kind of seems.
I mean, also I had a full beard as
and you
a
had
child,
a beard.
so they were like,
know,
I think we should let this boy play the boy part. Like this little girl looks more like a grown, because we were playing grown men. You know, she looks more like a grown man than the 12-year-old boys. So
yeah.
No, I did have a full mustache, but I used to do this thing where I would tie my hair up so that the back of my hair was coming down like a fringe. So it kind of looked like I had a men's haircut. And I'd wear a hat.
Yes.
And then at the end of the play, I thought, I'm going to reveal this during the curtain call. I'd take my hat off and let my hair come down, and people would be like, it was a girl all along. You know, I'm 12 or 13.
Yeah.
And I did it, and they were just like, that boy has long hair.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. But you were comfortable performing. You didn't have to, because one thing that a lot of stand-ups have to deal with that didn't come from a performing background is that when they start, they've also got to overcome not just the fact that they're going to have to make people laugh, they're going to have to overcome that they're standing in front of people. So one thing that I would say from my own career when I began, at open spot level, that the kids, the young people that had been to drama school, they always, at the very beginning, seemed to be much better than all of the other comics because they were just confident enough to stand in front of people. But I remember kind of seeing it as a strange thing, of thinking sometimes you'd see this guy go on and he'd be really nervous. And so the audience wouldn't have confidence in what this young person was saying. But I remember being able to think, but what that person said was definitely funnier than what the loud, confident person said. So I think that I always kind of thought that drama school gave, certainly at the beginning, and correct me if you feel differently than this, but it gave comics at the beginning a kind of leg up by the fact that they were used to standing in front of people and didn't mind that there was an audience there.
I think you've nailed it. I think that's exactly what it felt like. It felt like I was able to at least hide my nerves a bit better because I had experienced the feeling of people looking at me on stage before. But then I also felt like it was a lot harder for me, and this is kind of, I think, what you were saying. It was a lot harder for me to find my own voice and what's the thing about me that's very funny. Whereas that guy who was very nervous and maybe he didn't get the laugh, he probably was saying something very funny because it was coming from a very true place in himself. Whereas when you've done plays before, even just as a kid, you know, there's the idea of the fourth wall and you don't interact with the audience and you're playing a character. And then when you get up on stage to do stand-up, there is no fourth wall. It's a complete dialogue between you and the audience, and maybe they're not saying anything, but there's information in laughter, you know? And so I think it took me a very long time, years and years, I think, to feel very comfortable in being myself on stage rather than, I think I was probably writing good jokes, but I don't think that I was saying anything very true about myself or the things that I was thinking.
Well, it's I mean, I've been misquoting him somewhat, but I remember Bill Burr saying a thing about kind of when you start, that's the closest you are to kind of yourself. But as you kind of learn how to do it, you lose yourself. And then you have to kind of work on going back to yourself. That's the general journey of a comedian. But if you have an acting background, perhaps I put it to you that maybe you don't have that thing where when you begin, you are kind of the closest to yourself. You're actually kind of starting relatively far away because you're so used to inhabiting other people.
I mean, inhabiting other people when you're a 12-year-old playing Oliver. You know what I mean? I wouldn't go that far. But
when did you start
I had no
stand-up?
experience speaking as myself.
Yes, yeah.
I started stand-up just about a month or two before I turned 30. So I started quite late.
Yeah. So you've done a lot of acting before.
Do you know what? And yes, I'd been to drama school in London, and I had done a few plays in London. So yeah, I did have more experience on stage playing other characters than I did ever being myself.
Do you think that, and this is, I don't want to be trying to kind of like force a deep answer here, but a lot of the time there is something in this. Do you think that you were so it goes all the way back to being a child, but actually you look back and you realise there's an answer there, which is there was something attractive about being other people?
Oh, for sure. I mean, did you not grow up feeling incredibly self-conscious?
Yeah, I think so, yes.
I feel like it's a sort of commonality.
I've become more...
Well...
That's awful. I've become more self-conscious. But go on.
I remember, and maybe sometimes when I see on Instagram, like, it's like, you might be autistic if this is true. I'm like, am I autistic? Because I remember watching sitcoms as a kid and being like, oh, so that's what you're supposed to do with your arms when you talk to people. I was so self-conscious.
Yeah. By the way, I was exactly like that.
Right.
Yeah, totally. Oh, that's how you react when someone says, okay.
Yeah. But I think comedians are constant. Comedians just sort of start from a place of observation, right? You're kind of looking around like, what is everybody doing here? And there doesn't feel necessarily like there's a sort of freedom of just, living in the moment. You're constantly one step removed, observing everything.
Yes, yeah. And does that track with you? That's exactly how you were.
Even
I think before being a stand-up.
And I found it very hard to be myself around people because I think I had, from about the age of 12, really, really severely bullied. And so I became a little kind of internal, and performing on stage, especially if it was something that was funny, because all the parts I played as I got older were all comedy parts. It was a way of, I don't know, communicating my personality to people. And I actually found it a lot easier to do that if it was lines written down and rehearsed over and over again.
Right.
This podcast is making me really think I'm a little bit autistic.
No. Don't overthink. I think we're all...
It's a spectrum, isn't it?
It's a spectrum. But so you were bullied... you say you were bullied.
I told you I had a beard, right?
But yeah,
of course I was bullied.
It really was about that kind of thing, your appearance?
I was very precocious, and I think as a kid that's fine. But then when you get a little bit older, of course kids are going to be like, "Don't tell me what to do," And right. I just had no example in my life of how to give and take in a relationship, or my parents were so stressed financially and overwhelmed having all these kids that I never saw them around their friends. And the only friends I'd ever seen modeled for me were my brother's friends. And that's just a very different world than being a girl.
Yes.
So I think I was bullied a lot.
Can I ask, this is I hope you don't mind me asking this. It's a serious question.
Yes, I'm trans.
And you...
It's starting to sound like I'm autistic and I'm...
Good. I didn't want to say. I wasn't sure. I didn't say anything on Wikipedia. No, because... I've got two kids now, and I know you've got one child with the one child
that I know of, yeah.
and so things like bullying and all of that language is back in your life. That the fear of that, and even mine are too young for that at the moment, but that's to come. What do you think, seriously, if you were bullied and it affected you at 12? And I'm sure, I'm going to assume that carried on at the all-girls school.
Way worse.
It got worse. Okay.
Just you wait.
So I suppose you can incorporate all of this in the answer if you want and tell me what happened. How does that affect you as an adult, a person going into the world, and then I'm interested, I suppose, is how did that affect your comedy and how does that affect you as a stand-up comedian? I know that's a lot, so we can break that up.
Some of the most interesting people I know had a little bit tough. My husband was severely bullied growing up, and
In Ireland,
and he's my favorite person in the world. I mean, he's just had cataract surgery because he's been punched in the eye so many times.
Oh God!
Like, and all below the age of 25, I'd say. He's missing a knuckle from a fight he was in, and he's not. This isn't a tough guy.
No,
I mean,
he might be tough, but
tough now,
it doesn't look like a man that's getting into scraps.
No.
Or outside Weatherspoons.
No, and I think he was. So I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing to be bullied. I think it helps you kind of find your tribe, and I also think it's a sign that you are a free thinker. You stick out from the crowd. You speak your mind. You have your own opinions on things. You don't just go with what everybody else does and keep your head down. I think the people who stick out get knocked down. Maybe. Yeah. That said, I think I was a little bit of a bitch. So I feel like.
You think that you're a bitch, so you were bullied?
I think I was a little bit of a bitch.
You think you deserved being bullied?
Maybe a little bit.
Really?
Yeah, I see it a little bit with my nieces. They're a little bossy, and I'm like, they're 6, and I'm like, what's coming for you?
Yeah. So you don't think the bullying shaped you in any way?
I think it really did.
In what way?
Well, I'll tell you the story of why I think I became a comedian.
Fantastic.
So like I said, I went to this all-girls school where it was very academic focused, lots of girls there just trying to get the top marks so they can get into Princeton or wherever else. And one year, when I was a sophomore, a girl stole the Scantron answers, so the ABCD answers, off this teacher's desk and sent them all around our class. I think there was only about 80 of us in the entire year.
Wow.
And so maybe about half of us had the answers to the test. And I probably could have just studied and done fine, but I wrote the answers down on a piece of paper, taped it to my uniform skirt, the little inside, it was a skort, so there was a little flap. I did the test. I got up to hand the test in, and as I stood up, the tape failed.
No!
The paper fell out. And to this day, Sean, I regret not just shoving it in my mouth and eating it the minute it came out, because the teacher was like, "What's that?"
Oh.
And I said, "What?" And she said, "That paper that just came out of your skirt." And I said, "I don't know." And she's like, "Bring it to the desk." And I'm like, "This is so strange." So I brought it over, I put it on her desk. And obviously, I mean, it said 1B, 2A.
And your heart, I can just hear it.
And then I just sat there, like, pretending like, that was a weird piece of paper, but I had nothing to do with me, And then it became this huge thing. I denied it, of course. I said it must have stuck to the bottom of my shoe. It wasn't mine and all this. And my father, the most, the man looks like he's in the mob, pulled me aside and he was like, "You better tell me the truth right now. Was that paper your paper?" And he's like, if you tell me the truth that it wasn't yours, I will go to bat for you. I will take this school down. And he said, "But if it is yours and you're lying to me, we're going to have a problem." Like, it was very, it was very intense. And I said it wasn't mine. And I denied until,
I didn't see that coming.
Until they said, if the person who cheated doesn't come forward, we're going to make the entire year take the test again. And I thought, I can't do that. Also, all of the girls knew that it was me, right? So I said it was me, and they still made everyone take the test again. And this time the test was way harder. So even the girls who hadn't cheated and had studied got way worse marks. And this was a final exam, so it really mattered a lot.
Oh, man.
So I had to go to summer school at the school my father taught at. So this man was not speaking to me, and he would drive me in every day to do summer school at his school while he was teaching another class. It was a huge shame.
Sorry, so you going to the summer school part of
as a
punishment?
Okay. Right, yeah. So I retook the test, and also they wanted me to retake the class as part of summer school.
Okay, yes, right, that makes sense. That's all fair, by the way, so far.
Yeah, exactly. Except I came back to school and I thought, okay, I've done my penance. I have the worst mark of everyone because I had to do the summer school class and it's marks down on my permanent record and whatever else. Got back to school in September. No one would speak to me. And when I say no one, I mean not a single girl. I think they all collectively got together and were like, we're never speaking to her again.
So if it was now, you would have just been dropped from the WhatsApp group.
Worse than that, it's because you go there every day. You're dropped from the WhatsApp group and you spend 8 hours a day with these people, and no one is even just being blanked by everyone. And also all of the teachers knew what happened, so I just felt like I didn't have any ally there.
And remind me of how old you are at this point.
I'm 16.
Okay.
Yeah. And and it's my fault. I cheated. I used cheap tape. I should have stapled it.
But
you know what I mean?
Sorry, you didn't. Just I'm clear on this, and the viewers and listeners are probably ahead of me. But you didn't initially steal those qualifications. It wasn't you that.
No, it was someone else.
Sorry, the qualifications, the
answers. I
answers.
was just one of the girls who got the email sent that said, like, here are the answers to the test.
You're the one that got caught. Which caused the problem. Okay, all right.
But even the girls who stole the answers were kind of icing me out.
Yeah.
So I thought, now, in therapy, I talked a little bit about it with my a little bit every day for 6 years. And my therapist was like, why didn't your parents just let you transfer schools? Like, that sounds like a pretty intense thing for a teenager to be going through on top of all the other things, hormones and, whatever else.
Yes.
And my parents are very much like, you made your bed, you lie in it. You suffer the consequences of your actions.
Wow.
And what came out of that is I thought if I could just make people laugh, then maybe I'd get back in the group. So I started doing the morning announcements.
And that was like a conscious thought.
Completely conscious, yeah. Right. I started doing the morning announcements and
what's the morning announcement?
Over the loudspeaker, like...
what do you mean?
It was sort of
like... We don't have this here.
Right, it was sort of like news
like
bits.
the radio?
Yeah, it would, the speaker in the room. You didn't have a speaker in your...
What, like in the films? In the Hollywood films?
Those films are based on something and it's,
See, I think that just happens in the hospitals in the UK. We have those speakers in the hospital.
Right,
but at school, you're not playing out.
Well, in American school, you all stand up and you do the Pledge of Allegiance. So you turn and you face the flag and you put your hand on your heart and you pledge your allegiance to the United States of America, which is so crazy coming out of that, isn't it?
That's...
insane every day. And then also because it's Catholic school, you all say a morning prayer together. So everyone is standing, saying this prayer. And then after that, you sit down and the loudspeaker comes on in all of the classrooms. And it's sort of like the activities that are happening, the news of the day, different bits of information. And things that probably would be an email now, but we just did it. And so I would just make them as funny as I could. And if I could hear kids laughing in the classroom, I thought like, okay, this is working. Like they're going to start to accept me again.
Yeah, absolutely.
And keep in mind, these are girls who grades really mattered for them. So they're livid with me because I might have knocked their chance of getting into a really good college.
Mm-hmm. And what about you? Was that an aspiration of yours? I know you're performing. You're still performing at this point. You started when you were younger, but you're still performing when you're 16, aren't you?
Yeah.
So what about you? Did you have at 16? Did you want to go to these? What was it? The Ivy Leagues?
I enough to get into them. I'm kind of just like a bullshitter. I was
right.
And also I had no real. I always thought, what would I do with that? Not that it was ever an option for me, but I didn't want to become a doctor or have a PhD or anything.
Yeah. Did your parents go to uni?
They did, kind of brokenly. Yeah.
Okay.
They were the first. My father's parents were Lebanese immigrants.
Right.
His mom had like a 3rd grade education and she was a singer. So she was a performer and she made her living like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did you grow up with her around?
Yeah. She was kind of my 3rd parent. She was the closest extended family I had.
Did she encourage, as a singer and performer, did she encourage that in any way, or is that just kind of merely in the background?
I don't know. She a little bit. I think just seeing it as an example was, you can make a living.
Yes,
just
that's massive
for people. Yeah,
totally.
She was very much she was at the end of her career by the time I was old enough to know what it was that she did. But I could see she had all these awards everywhere and records. And
that's so interesting, that point to me about being able to kind of see with your own eyes that someone could do that. Because for myself, but I have, friends in the business where I know it's the same for them, is that it's not when you're watching the comics on, well, it would have been telly then. It wasn't watching them and going, oh, I could do that. It was when you were first made aware of the comedy club.
Yeah.
And you were watching someone that you didn't recognise. For a lot of comics, it was then that you went, oh, so like people that you don't recognise from the telly do this.
Yeah, and they're being paid.
And we're in a club, and oh my God, you can play to people. So to have that kind of in your actual life, it seems like we all have, comedians or performers have a moment or a period where where we're made aware that, oh, you can do it.
Yeah.
Oh, I can do it. So you've got that from your nan.
I think so, yeah. And also...
How was your voice?
Oh, God, terrible. And she used to try and encourage. She'd be like, Habibti, come, we will record. We will see how you sing. And she was so sweet. And she'd be like, beautiful, beautiful. And then they'd play it back. And it would be, I mean, like a prepubescent boy. As I said, I was a boy growing up. It just sounded, it was all over the place. I think now, because I've done musicals and stuff, I can sing a bit. But not like her.
Right,
especially
right.
She was an Arabic singer. And they have a totally different, they have more... notes or tones or something.
Oh, right. I don't have no idea.
So that's why it has that kind of vibrato sound, is because they have an extra, I forget the word, but I mean, she had a beautiful voice, like harrowing almost. It was just had so much emotion in it, and she was a classical Arabic singer, so it's these beautiful storytelling ballads of kind of like love and disaster. So no, I couldn't sing like her. But she was very encouraging of me performing in general, I think.
Yes. Yeah, that I think that's very important. So this idea of being funny to kind of fit in, you think that is kind of where... It's also interesting because it feels like that's what it sounds like you've almost done that your whole life from your brothers, and then that's repeated again later on. And
I think it's like a skill that I learned, and I thought, okay, well, I have that skill, so why don't I just utilize that and see if that helps? Yeah. Like, I remember the nuns at my Catholic school, they asked me to play, very last minute, to play Jesus. I didn't even have to audition. I just played Jesus in the Easter I think it was a mass.
You give off that vibe. You're like, I'm God's.
I'll play God.
Offspring.
So they asked me to play Jesus in the Mass, which is insane. I think I had to carry the cross on, and I think I had to say something like, forgive them, Father, they know not what they do. And I remember everybody in the school was sitting down in the auditorium, and I'm holding this like giant crucifix, and I tied my hair like this to kind of be a beard. And
wow, I could see it.
Out.
I thought Jesus had just returned.
I know. I am lambda trained. And I walked out like that, and everybody was laughing, and I think I did an accent or something like, forgive them, they know not what they do, and I remember leaving and being like, okay, well that's good, that helped, like that's gonna help me get some friends again.
Oh right,
okay, and
being Jesus would do that.
Oh yeah,
popular guy, not everywhere,
populist, wasn't he? Not everywhere, yeah. But yeah, that was me playing Jesus in my escort as a 15-year-old. But
right.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think it's a kind of skill. Then what happened is a nun who directed all of the plays pulled me aside and said, Janine, you are a comedian. And this woman at the time was
lovely.
I mean, she was maybe 175 years old.
That's so lovely though when you hear that when you're younger, because it could have such a big effect.
It had a horrible effect on me.
Oh my
because
I love how wrong I got that. Because my RE teacher told me I could be a comedian, and it gave me some belief. But go on. This isn't about me. It's about you. Go on.
My best friend at the time, who was a tiny little adorable and still a good friend of mine, adorable Cuban girl named Alyssa. She then looked at her and went, "And you are a leading lady." And I was like, "See, I could be a leading lady."
Right.
And so genuinely from there, I think I thought, okay, I'll be in plays as a funny character, but I'll also be a serious actress. And I think that's what set me on the path to audition for drama school and try and become a serious stage actor. And then I did it, and I actually hated it. It's so boring.
Why did you hate it?
I mean, you've done plays.
I've done 2 comedies, so I'm, so I've not done a drama.
I did this play in 1984. It was, and I was so happy to get the part. I saw it as a drama school student, and I thought I want to play that character, and then I auditioned and I got it, and I hated it almost immediately. There's no freedom. There's no freedom. They tell you where to stand, what to wear, what to say. You're a meat puppet. And you say the same thing every night, 8 times a week, twice a day sometimes. And I think I did 300 performances of it.
I hope you weren't doing the promo for the play. How was it? I hated every second of it.
You're a goddamn meat puppet.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. On Graham Norton.
Yeah, I really didn't enjoy it. And also the best part about it was that the cast was very funny. So you'd be doing a very serious scene on stage. And then in the wings, some of the cast would be kind of like fake having sex with each other, trying to make you laugh.
I've heard about those.
Yeah.
We never had that when you have to pass. There's a play. It's like the final night, and then you've got to pass. The aim of the play for all the actors is to pass like a sausage or something around.
Yeah, exactly. It was that kind of thing because you get so bored. No one should be saying the same thing over and over again. It's why Mass is so boring. It's just the same every single time.
Yeah.
So I didn't enjoy that, and while I had this very nice dressing room because Lindsay Lohan had done a play in that theater, and she requested that all the dressing rooms be redone. So we're in this very lush dressing room.
Good old Lindsay.
Good girl. So I would meet with 2 of my girlfriends in the dressing room.
I wish I could do that. I wish I had the power to
I
do
know,
that.
imagine. Because you've seen the
I'm not doing a show here until you sort out the interior design. You were saying, sorry, your friends. You brought your friends around.
So we would meet in the dressing room because it was a central location, and my friends lived all over London. Me and these 2 girlfriends, and we would start writing sketches, and then we started filming them and putting them out online. And then I thought, well, this doesn't earn me any money, but I do like doing it. And so I from there I started doing comedy.
Stand up.
Sketch first. We went to Edinburgh and did a sketch show, and it went well. And then I thought, I've always wanted to do stand-up. I'm about to turn 30. Why not try? For some reason, 30 in my mind was death. And I thought if I don't do it before now, I'll never do it. So signed up for an open mic, and then that's...
What's your relationship with... Because I don't think we've not mentioned... your relationship really with stand-up comedy up until this point of you trying it. So
didn't like it. Never liked it. I'd watch people do it on TV. I didn't like it.
Okay, this is a first. I've never.
Yeah, I didn't enjoy it. There was no one who I watched who I thought that's funny. Like I just wasn't a fan.
But you growing up in America, you would have had like Eddie Murphy and I don't know Robin Williams and.
You know what? I was so sheltered. My parents blocked MTV, VH1. I wasn't allowed to watch Friends or anything. They were very religious, very repressive people. So
but you're not religious?
No.
So was that a conversation that had to be had? Did they feel let down that you weren't?
I don't think they love that I'm not religious.
Yes, yeah.
No, they hate it.
Okay.
No, I think they're in a constant state of she'll return to the church one day.
Yeah.
And actually,
you're going to come back as Jesus.
Well, I've been there before, and I shall return.
Yeah.
But as I get older, I think I feel more of a connection to God. I just don't think it's necessarily, the sort of Catholicism of it all.
Yeah, but so stand up. So you were never like kind of sat around as the family.
I remember one time as a kid, me and my dad, we watched Jackie Mason, amazing. And my father was cracking up laughing, and I thought
Jewish New York, right? Yeah,
and I thought, I want to make my dad laugh like that. But I wasn't a fan of his or of comedy. it was the first time I ever saw it, probably.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, I don't know if you had this. I've heard a lot of people say that the first time they watched it, they thought the comedians were just making it up off the top of their heads.
Yeah, I mean, the first time I would have watched that, I would have thought that, when I was a kid.
I never had that.
You just thought, this guy,
I thought they wrote the material.
This liar.
Yeah.
This one-man play.
But I never enjoyed it. And then I saw one of the girls in my sketch trio was like, have you watched John Mulaney's new special? And I thought, I've never even heard of him. And she's like, you should watch it. I think you'd like it. And when I saw that, I thought, I love this.
Oh, wow.
Because
which show was it? You remember?
It was probably Kid Gorgeous, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. But, he's such a consummate writer. Like it's
Yeah.
very clear that every single word matters. And
Yes.
you know, I've seen him live, and then I've seen.
You're like that as well, actually. That it's very sharp, and it's economic, and it's there's nothing wasted.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're like that too. I would say you're more of like a kind of like modern Seinfeld or something, where you really look at the sort of mortar in between the bricks and almost obsessively speak about it. Do you know what I mean? Like the minutia of life. You find like the funniest parts of it. I love that bit that you do about going to McDonald's and ordering. Yes. Ordering from the computer.
Yeah.
Oh, it's very good.
Oh, well, bless you.
Yeah.
And you also rock. But I watched your special for this, the one at the Soho Theatre. It's fantastic.
Oh, right.
And exactly clinical and not a word wasted, and also so well performed, which obviously. From talking to you about. In fact, you reference the drama school when you do a very, very, very good English accent.
Oh right, yeah.
That you could actually come out. There's that trick that some comedians use where you could come out and start as an English comedian and halfway through drop it, and we'd all go, "What the hell? What the hell happened?" But
I mean, I probably not anymore. I haven't done it in so long. But I had just done this play where I had played an English woman for 2 years. That I feel like I was very, my mouth was very used to those shapes.
Okay.
Now when I try and do it. Like I tried to do it in bed with my husband once. I was like, let's do a little role playing, and he's Irish. And the minute I busted out like, like, oh, what's your name? He was like, for fuck's sake, stop it. He's gonna struggle.
But again, it was very good.
Right. Well, thank you. Yeah, he's gonna struggle as our son gets older because he's got a little English accent, and I don't think my husband's into that at all.
No. You've come to the wrong island.
Yeah, exactly.
Really,
yeah.
If you're not looking for that.
Yeah.
But that ability to be able to mimic all the accents, like when you do the Staten Island, then it comes so naturally to you, and then you can do the English, and even you were doing your nan there. It just. You're going to take it for granted. Obviously, you are, but you're such a natural performer. And then when you hear your story, it's
makes sense.
It makes sense.
Just get bullied, kids. You'll get a career if you just get incessantly bullied.
That's the advice.
But do you find this? I don't value the things that I can do easily, and so I'm always attracted to comedians who are very different from me.
Well.
Because I think if I can do it, it can't be that good of a thing, because it's,
Yeah.
I'm always amazed. I'm most amazed by comics who can write like incredibly like you actually, incredibly well-rounded bits that look at something so closely that by the time you finish with the material, in the audience, I'm thinking to myself, no one is ever going to attempt to write something around that premise again because you've milked it for everything it is. Do you know what I mean?
I own McDonald's.
It's a kind of way of just like pissing all over the material because you're like, oh, I have looked at this from every single angle and dissected it. And I don't write like that.
Well, what do you write like then?
I think I write...
Did you always write? So we've talked a lot about the performance aspect of what you do, but you're an incredible writer as well. And and actually going back to the very beginning of our discussion, you have to be an incredible writer to do those roasts. You have to be so sharp and concise to get the most impact out of these extremely funny lines that can't, there's such a line. They have to be wit. They can't just be mean. They're not going to work if they're just mean. There has to be wit. And there are all of these elements that make them as impactful as they are. So you've got that in your locker. Now where does that come from? Because, I don't know, does drama, can you get that from drama school, or did you always read, or,
I always loved English.
Right.
I probably cheated on every test I've ever taken, except for anything to do with English or literature or reading comprehension, because I just enjoyed doing it. That said, I don't think I've read a book in about 7 years, but when I was growing up in school...
But with the kid, that's not going to happen. There's no book time.
No, not at all, no. But I have hours to just scroll incessantly on Instagram mindlessly, but I won't spend 20 minutes reading a book every night. But,
of course, yeah, we're all We're all doing that to ourselves.
Yeah.
We're just eating our own brain away. Absolutely. It's horrendous.
Yeah.
But did your parents read?
I don't. My mom read a bit.
Your dad was a teacher.
He taught. I mean, I'm used. The man. Okay. I think he's a creationist, and he taught biology and earth science. So I don't actually know what the intersection is there. I'm not entirely sure he's a creationist, but I don't actually want to ask him because he's very religious. But he didn't study biology and earth science, but he's very good at explaining things. So if he consumes something, he can explain it to you in very, very simple terms that anyone could understand.
Well,
and he was loved by his students. I once went on, they have these review sites where it's called Rate My Teacher or something like that, and which sounds sexual now that I say it out loud.
You've made it sound sexual. Yeah.
But he got great marks. The boys he taught at the old boys school, they just loved learning from him. But he didn't necessarily study that. In college, I actually don't know what his degree's in.
But fine.
I don't know if he has a college degree. Now that I think about it, I don't know.
But what I was going to say is that his ability to explain, you said he's got a really good ability to explain. I sometimes think, and obviously it can depend on what type of stand-up you do, but knowing your work and watching your special, stand-up is often reporting. It's funny reporting. Mm-hmm. You can be reporting the mundanity of life. You can be reporting using the self-service checkouts at Tesco's, and you're reporting your experience with that. Or you could be reporting much more intimate details about your life, like which you ended up doing and being a lot more open. Mm. You have to be reporting you have to be reporting very, very clearly and clinically to get the most impact for the audience, to make them laugh. And if your dad was very good at explaining, then I think you'd be allowed to think that's kind of somewhere down the line that's rubbed off on you, and you're explaining your life to the audience and well enough for them to laugh at it.
I completely agree. I think there's something in me that just wants to be understood. Whatever it is, I just want a group of people to understand my perspective on something.
Why is that? That's amazing. Why is that? Because that's so fascinating to me, because I understand it, right? I understand that. I have my own version of that, and I think we all do as performers. But not everyone's a performer, not everyone's a stand-up. So why do you need to be understood by strangers? What's that? Where's that come from?
I have no idea. But there is just something about I really do want to think about this because I don't know.
We need to.
I don't know.
That's the first. Do you know what I love? But that's the first time I've just had
a big.
Do you know
pause.
what? I don't know. No. Pause. And it's a difficult question. It's a very, very big question. And sometimes people will think of the answers for these ourselves before we're doing something like this. But if you've not, that's absolutely fine.
But the thing is, and I'm only pausing because
it's a big question.
It's bizarre because best case scenario, people go, that was funny. Worst case scenario, you die on your ass and you spend days in a sort of this was in the beginning, obviously, when you start comedy, in this shame spiral
to be clear,
why
Janine
did I say
die.
that? I do. I do.
At New Material Nights, we all maybe die a bit.
Anywhere in Kent.
And for myself, Tunbridge Wells. Yes.
But because what is that in you where the best case scenario feels so good that it's worth the risk of the embarrassment of failing at public speaking, and the failure is so obvious. And no other public speaking is there, such immediate feedback as laughter or no laughter.
Yeah.
And also the craziest part about it all is you can only know by doing it. You can only know if something is going to be good by testing it out in front of an audience. So the only way to know if you're good at your job is by doing your job. It's bizarre.
Effectively, yes, yeah.
You can't do that in surgery. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Do you put your self-worth in how the gigs go?
Not anymore.
How have you learned to not do that?
Therapy.
Ah.
Yeah, so when I I had a really good year when it's called, debuting in Edinburgh. You do your first ever hour and lots of people are looking at you because it's, who's this new person?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that year I ended up winning something like 6 newcomer awards and got nominated for Best Show with the show that you saw. And after
great.
that...
It's on YouTube, by the way.
It's on YouTube,
for anyone. You can YouTube it.
Stand Up with Janine Harouni. Please remain seated.
As soon as this is over.
I regret that title.
Don't go now. Wait until this is over. Leave a comment and a review, 5-star review, and then go and watch.
But after I did that, and objectively, it went well,
Yeah, fantastic.
I was never been more sad in my life. I felt so unfulfilled and miserable, and I realized, there's no amount of outside validation that's going to affect my sense of self-worth.
Yeah.
It did not make me feel better.
Mm-hmm.
So I was only feeling bad when I failed and not good when I succeeded.
Yeah.
And I thought, that's weird. That doesn't really make much sense. So I went to loads and loads of therapy for about 6 years and really learned by failing that I believe in myself. I did a show in Edinburgh a couple of years ago while I was 8 months pregnant. 1 out of 10. Do not recommend doing that, especially how hilly Edinburgh is. Went well, got nominated again for, the best show, and took it on tour for the first time. And I thought, I'm going to do a month in New York. We're going to get the New York Times to come in. It's why wouldn't I get a nice review and all this? Nobody came to review it. I struggled so hard to sell tickets. I'm in a 200-seat venue for a month, selling about 60 seats a night. And I was away from my son. My son was staying with my parents. He was a baby at the time. And it was December in New York, so it's freezing cold, miserable. And my husband was remotely working about 22 hours out of the day because he's a director and he was trying to meet a deadline for the edit. And he was editing this show that he filmed in Ireland. So I was completely alone, failing miserably, doing the show. And somewhere in there, I had to just find it within myself to go, do you know what? There are 60 people here. I love this show, regardless of how it's selling or what the reaction is. I know that this is a good show because it means so much to me. Yeah. And it was a painful show to do. It was about losing a baby and losing the director of that show who died very suddenly of a brain aneurysm and a heart attack, Adam Brace. And so it was a very vulnerable place to be in, to be like, do you guys like this thing that is the saddest things that have ever happened to me?
Wow.
And by the end of that month, I said, you know what? I had no more imposter syndrome, which I struggled with for years.
Yes.
I thought, I believe in myself, and it doesn't matter what anyone on the outside says because I know that I'm working as hard as I can and creating things that mean something to me. And now I've been touring this new show and I've been a bit braver and I've been doing meet and greets afterwards. And the amount of people who come up and tell me, because, my shows always have like a bit of heart, a bit of, pain in them, a bit of pathos.
Yeah.
The amount of people, because this show's about postpartum depression, I swear the shows are funny.
They are very funny.
But the amount of people,
they are. Of course they are. And I can vouch for that as well.
But the amount of people that come up to me and say something about how they've experienced the same things and how cathartic it felt to have this release, whatever it was, that's what matters to me now, is just connecting with other human beings. And that gives my life purpose. I would also like to be rich now, but that hasn't been my journey thus far.
Wait until this goes out, baby.
Yeah.
So with all the success that you've had, so millions and trillions of views online over TikTok and Instagram, right?
Yeah.
And the specials, the Soho one's killed it. You've had another one?
I've just finished editing the other one, yeah.
Fantastic. And do you know when that's coming out yet?
We shall see.
Okay, so watch this space. But, you're absolutely smashing it out there. When, I would ask, when did that feel, with the success you've had thus far, when did that feel furthest away from you?
So when I was 18, I told my mom, I don't want to go to college. I think I want to go to California join Groundlings and become a comedian. My mother scared the shit out of me and told me, if you don't go to college, you're going to lose your health insurance. You won't be covered under my insurance. And she said, is that what you want to do? You want to get a full-time job? And I was like, no, obviously don't want to do any work. That's why I want to be a comedian. So I went to college, and while I was there, this niggling thing was like, I think you shouldn't be here. This isn't your path. And so I transferred out, and I went back to Staten Island, and I went to a community college because I didn't want to lose my health insurance.
What's that mean, community college?
Very easy college, very cheap college, and very easy. I was stoned probably every day.
Does it mean shit?
Shit.
Okay.
Yeah, shit. Like a daycare for adults. Like that was the vibes.
Great. That's where I would have gone.
Right, yeah. No. You seem like a smart guy. You just didn't value academics.
I didn't do anything.
Yeah. No, well, I actually wish I did. That's the smartest thing you could do.
Yeah.
What a waste of money if you don't want to use it.
Right.
Anyway, while I was there, I thought, I'm doing it. I was going into the city and I was auditioning for things and I was going to make my way as a performer. And then one night I was driving home, got a flat tire, pulled over in the shoulder, and a woman coming home late from working in the hospital, one of those crazy shifts, fell asleep at the wheel and rear-ended us at 70 miles an hour. Only my side of the car was hit.
Right.
Yeah, so I was crushed and pinned inside the car, and I had dislocated my hip. I had broken my fib out of my leg. I had severed nerves and tendons in my hand, and because my hip was dislocated, my femur crushed my sciatic nerve, and it paralyzed my leg for 3 years. And I thought I was going to die. You know, I had to have all these surgeries, and I've got some medical issues. I've got a blood clotting disorder, so it was very precarious when I would be able to have the surgery. And they were big 6 and 7 hour long surgeries, and clotting is always an issue when you have any type of even minor surgery. So kind of every time I went in, I had about 7 surgeries. I had to basically say goodbye to my parents. And at the end of all of that, about 2 years, I lived in the hospital for 2 months, and I did about 2 years of physical therapy, and I kept going back in for these checkups. And at the end of 2 years, this doctor said, we normally don't tell people their leg is going to be paralyzed forever until we reach a 2-year mark where there's been no movement, and you've had no movement in your leg. So I think you need to accept that it's just paralyzed now, and you need to stop trying. And my father, my father who... God, sweet man, religious, and it was a female doctor, just went, fuck you, doc, and like wheeled me out of there. And he's like, you don't listen to what some quack says to you. You're going to walk again, baby. And he was like, we're going to take you in for every physical therapy session. He's like, I'm going to be there with you the whole time. And he was like, you're going to be a performer if that's what you want to do. If you want to be on Broadway, you're going to do it. Like this man who my entire life had been like, I think maybe you should become a speech pathologist, saw that being a performer was a sort of motivating thing that would help me regain the ability to walk on my own again, because I had a leg brace on and a cane. You know, after years of rehab, I still couldn't do it myself. And that within 6 months, I was able to move my little toe for the first time in almost 3 years. And then from there, it just got stronger and stronger and stronger. So that's probably weirdly, I think, being taken out of thinking that was going to be my path, because God, to be a stand-up comedian, you kind of need to stand up, you know, like it's in the title. So it kind of took me way off this path, healed my relationship with my dad, who is a Trump supporter, very religious, Republican, very Catholic man. We kind of had to put our differences aside to kind of, you know, have this common goal of just getting healthy again. And set me on a definite course where I thought, I haven't just done all of this to not then use it for the thing that I want to do with my life, especially because I faced my mortality at 21 and realized you just get one shot at this.
Yeah.
I don't want to wake up somewhere and think I have been on the wrong path for 30 years and I don't want to do this anymore. So I thought, okay, I don't care how scary it is. I don't care that I probably will be broke, which I am. I'm not that broke anymore, but I was for a long time. But I thought I'm just going to go for it. And because I had been living essentially in my parents' basement for 3 years, you know, shitting in a commode next to the bed because I couldn't walk. The minute I could walk again, I wanted to just get out and travel. So I signed up for an acting course in England. I thought I just need to get away as far as I can. And I've just stayed ever since. Met my husband there. We had our son. Met my husband at drama school. We had a son. And England is where I met Adam Brace, who was an amazing director. I don't know if you ever worked with him or met him.
No, I didn't work with him, but I knew him, and I knew him through my good friend and fantastic comedian Jimmy McGee.
Right, yeah. I just saw Jimmy the other day.
Yeah.
Yeah, Adam was amazing. I met him on a short course at Soho Theatre, and we had an argument almost immediately where he said that bit's never going to work, and I said, it kills, you're wrong, I just delivered it badly there. And we kind of had a little spat, and then I went away like, that guy's an idiot. And then Andrew said, you know who he is? And he had directed some of my favorite shows I'd ever seen. And I thought, wow. Tail between my legs. I sent him an email like, would you at all be interested in helping me with this show that I'm thinking? And I sent him the idea, the car accident, healing my relationship with my dad and learning to walk again and humanizing a Trump supporter, and he said, let's have a meeting. And we started working together, and he taught me everything I know about comedy.
Wow.
He's the person who encouraged me to be vulnerable on stage, to mine your own personal experience for comedy, to try and connect with people through laughter, as lame as that sounds. And that's just put me on the path that I am now. And it just feels like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Unfortunately, he passed away when we were doing my second show of essentially a heart attack while he was in a coma from having a aneurysm.
Yes.
A stroke, actually. But he's just the best, and
Yes, a very popular man amongst the circuit.
Yeah, a lot of people thought he didn't.
A lot of comedians go on to have great success.
And I've said this about him before. A lot of people in this business are interested once you reach a certain level of what they can get out of you. And he was never interested in that. He always wanted to go back to the beginning and find someone at some open mic or first round comedy competition. And he was interested in building something with them. He loved helping comics find their voice. And the people he worked with and the shows that he made were so varied and different.
Yeah.
And I think he loved that. He loved just combining his brain with someone who was very different from him to create this new thing. And he turned down a lot of very rich, very famous comics who would throw money at him to try and help shape their tour shows. And he just wouldn't do it. He just didn't care.
Yeah. Wow.
And he needed the money. Like
Yes.
He wasn't a rich guy, but he was one of the most, what's the word? He had so much integrity. One of the most,
Yeah. And that show, that's the show at the Soho Theatre.
Yeah.
That's the show that you can watch on YouTube. That coming round to that kind of realization of connection, and I think it sounds like connection's always been a thing you've been looking for, and you've done a lot to try and connect, and it's taken a long time, and you've got to a great place where you're connecting with more people than ever.
I mean, my therapist would say I need to reach out to friends more, because I think I call my parents about 5 times a day, and even they're sick of it. They're like, just get a friend.
Darling, this is show business, not show friends. Okay. It's been, I think that's, what more is there to say? That's been absolutely fantastic. It's been so interesting, enjoyable, funny, listening to how you became the clown that you are today. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Pleasure. The fantastic Janine Harouni there. Really enjoyed that. I just listened back to it. She's a very funny comedian. And if you want to go and see her live, her new tour, just remind myself, This Is What You Waited For, runs till May. Go and check that out. I'm also on tour with This Is Torture. Just go to seannwalsh.com. And I'm also at the Hackney Empire in October. So hopefully see you there. That's all from me. I've been Seann Walsh. This has been Class Clown, and I'll see you next week. Ta.